Thank you both, Lydia and Josep Maria. I'm very happy to be here, even if it's virtual. So I will start. So Open Research Europe, first with a little bit of background, it came about from a public procurement from the European Commission. This contract was won by the publisher called F1000, and it's a contract for 4 years. It started in March 2020 and it will finish in March 2024. But the European Commission has already put out another public procurement for a contract of 2 extra years as well. So the idea is to create an open access publishing venue for beneficiaries of Horizon 2020, Horizon Europe, Euratom, and Cost Action Program beneficiaries. It covers 6 different subject areas because the European Commission funds all these different subject areas. It was launched in March 2021, so we are just over 2 years old. And as of May of this year, we have 376 publications on the platform. So the ambitions of the European Commission is to lead by example in operationalizing open science principles within scientific publishing and giving their beneficiaries an opportunity to explore different sustainable options to publish their work. So our highlights, or Open Research Europe in a nutshell, we do immediate publication. That means that the articles are published before the peer review has started. This is it allows us to share the results quite rapidly because, as you can imagine, if the peer review is if you need an article to be published before its peer review, can be like up to, I don't know, 1 year in a journal, and your research cannot be seen by other researchers. We also do open peer review. So that means that the names of the reviewers, as well as the reports that they write, are going to appear alongside your article. We use new generation article metrics, things like views, downloads, and citations, but we gather this information at the article level and not at the journal level. And this actually belongs to a bigger picture of what the European Commission is trying to push for, where they want to focus on the content that is published rather than on the venue. And that's why they have decided not to ask for an impact factor. They also are very willing to be very transparent and cost effective. In terms of transparency, you can find all our guidelines and policies in our platform. And for the cost effectiveness, the authors don't have to pay to publish with us. This is a cost that is paid centrally by the European Commission. It doesn't come from your Horizon projects either. And the price that we agreed with the Commission per articles is 820 euros. So our publishing model consists first with the article submission. So first the author submit their article, very similarly to what they will do for another journal. And then this is received by our in-house editors that form what we call the pre-publication team. So they are going to run some checks on all the submissions that we received. And these checks are going to be quite extensive because after this process is they accept the articles they are going to be published. Obviously, we need to make sure that what we put online, it has some scientific rigor, or at least it has been done rigorously scientifically. So they are going to check that first of all, the articles are original. So we are not a repository. We publish original articles, and therefore authors shouldn't send works that they have already published elsewhere. They also going to check that the authors have the right funding. So as I was mentioning, only authors with Horizon funding, Cost Action Program funding, can publish with us for now. They don't need to be the corresponding author nor the first author. At least one of the authors in the author list should have the funding. So Also, they're going to check if the authors need to specify any ethical approval, and then that the authors have chosen the right article type and they are adhering to the guidelines. And the article should be readable in English. It's the only language that we publish in so far. And then quite importantly, and I think what it distinguishes us from some other journals is the database availability and the analysis of the method. So in order to fight this crisis of reproducibility of research, we ask the authors to submit all the underlying data of their article in an approved repository. So what we mean by approved repository is that it's a repository that is going to hold the data indefinitely on open access basis, and neither the authors nor the users have to pay a fee to access this data. In terms of the method, the author should detail the methodology. And basically with these two elements, with the data and the method, if another researcher would like to replicate your experiments, they will have all the information to do so. So once you have this, we have all the information that we required from the authors in terms of the data, their grant funding, etc., is when the article will get published on the platform. In terms of the data, we follow this policy of open as possible, but as close as necessary. So we are going to acknowledge situations in which the authors let us know that they are not able to share all the data because of, for example, if we are talking about medical experiments, you cannot share the data without that data still being anonymous, or if they think there's some commercial value in their data. There are situations in which we can acknowledge these specific scenarios, and then we will still publish the research. So once the article is published on our platform is when the peer review process starts. This process is author-led, so we ask the authors to suggest 5 names initially of reviewers that we are going to check for several elements. So we're going to check that these reviewers are qualified, that they are experts in the field. By experts, we want to have reviewers that they have published an article in the relevant topic in the last 5 years, so we can make sure that they are actually active scholars. In terms of qualification, in most cases that will mean that they need to have a PhD in that area, and quite importantly, we're going to check for impartiality. So obviously the authors and the suggested peer reviewers shouldn't be close collaborators. We're going to check that they haven't published an article together in the last 3 years, that they don't work in the same institution, and there's really no indication for us to believe that there's no that there's conflict of interest between them. Then we also would like to see that the authors can provide reviewers that are global. So for example, not all reviewers coming from Spain or from France. We would like to see some diversity as well. And if we need an additional expertise, like maybe a paper is very heavily relying on statistics, we will ask for one of the reviewers to have that additional expertise. So then what we are going to ask the reviewers is to, similarly what they do for another journal, is to obviously read the article and write a review about it. On top of that, we ask them to give the article a peer review status. That we have 3 of those. The first one is approved if they think that the paper is scientifically sound in its current form, and maybe they suggest minor suggestions. The approved with reservation status, here with a green question mark, is when they want to see small changes. They might ask for additional experiments or clarification of some sections. And then the not approved, it means that they believe there are fundamental flaws on the article that undermine the scientific discoveries. But even in the not approved scenario, it does not mean that the article is rejected, because I mean, it's already published, it was already accepted to be published. In this case, the next step will be for the authors to respond to the comments of the reviewers. to take these comments into account and to submit a new version of the article that then it will go back to the same reviewers, and then we will continue with the peer review process. So once the articles, how do we consider that an article has passed peer review? It needs to have 2 of these approved status, or 1 approved and 2 approved with reservations. Once this is achieved, the articles are sent to the indexers and repositories. And at the moment we are indexed this. Some of them, you have the whole list in this link, but we are indexed in Google Scholar in the directory of open access journals, in InSpec, which is indexer relevant for engineering and technology, in Scopus, which is an indexer more like general content, 80+, which is relevant for social sciences, and we have very recently been accepted in PubMed, which is the indexer relevant for biological sciences and medical and health sciences as well. So here I have included a screenshot of one of our articles. Actually, this is in our history and archaeology gateway. So first of all, you can see that obviously we have the title of the article, but at the end in square brackets, we clarify which version of the article we're seeing and what is the status of the peer review. Because obviously in our platform, you're going to find articles that have passed peer review and others that has not passed peer review. And this is something that readers need to have very clear which one is which. So even if an author, well, a researcher would like to cite an article that has not passed peer review, that information about the peer review will appear in the citation. So if you're reading, if you're checking the references, you will see, okay, so this article was published in Open Research Europe and it has not passed peer review yet, or it has, depending. But all this information in this is in the citation itself. All the versions of the article are on the same page. So here you have the information about the open peer review. So as you can see for this article, we have a first version that was reviewed by 3 different reviewers. 2 of them gave it an approved with reservations, and another one gave it approved. Then the author submitted a second version, and it went back to all reviewers. Whenever we have a new version of an article, it goes back to all the reviewers that initially review it. But in this case, only the first one review it again. And this is something that, I mean, we cannot control. We probably, in this case, sent reminders to these reviewers, but that they didn't answer us. In any case, this article has passed peer review now because it has the 2 approved status, and here you have the information about the peer reviewers. In both cases, for both peer reviewers and the authors, we offer them the possibility to link their ORCID link, so it serves both ways for them to get recognition in terms of the peer review activity, and also for readers if they would like to know or check who these people are. I mean, this is something that our peer review team does, but because everything is open, now everybody can make their own judgments because all this information is available. And also, if you were to click here, it will direct you to the different peer review reports. So this is an example of a peer review report of this article. Basically, as you can see here, the first paragraph is a summary of the article. It follows very similarly what they do for other journals. And we also, apart from this, we, depending on the type of article and in the type of discipline, we make the reviewers to answer a set of questions that are include, for example, are the results properly back at the conclusion properly back with the results? Did the authors cited the relevant literature? So that way, when the reviewers answer those questions, it gives us like a way of more objective way of checking if the peer review have been done rigorously. And obviously, we also have a peer review team that it will check all the peer review reports from all of our reviewers. And if they believe that their peer review is not up to our standards, it will send it back to the reviewers. But I have to say, for Open Research Europe, usually the reviewers are really good, and yeah, they're very engaged and they do a good work with that. We don't have a lot of issues in that area, but if we did, this is how we handle them. So here on the second box, you can see the responses from the author. And I guess that probably this is something that you already do when when you submit for a journal that is closed. The difference is that here everyone can see this, and obviously it has good benefits, especially for early career researchers, because they can learn from this process whereas in other places is closed. And then when we have more than one version of an article, we include a section that it will explain what are the differences between the two versions of the article, and then it'll be easier for the readers to follow the journey of this specific article. And then here you can see the reports from the reviewers. So even something I didn't mention, all the versions of the article as well as the peer review reports are given a DOI. So they are cited and they are linked together. The thing about the versions of an article, they share the root of the DOI. So let's say if you get 2 citations in version 1 and 2 citations in version 2, it will count as 4 for the whole of the article. Because yeah, we are aware that citations is usually a measure to assess research quality. So as I was mentioning, how important the data availability it is for us, all our articles include a data availability statement, even if it's not data. If there's no data, they will say there's no data associated with this article. In the cases that is data, it will have 2 sections. The underlying data refers to the article itself, and the extended data, it will be the equivalent to the supplementary material in other journals. We don't do supplementary material because what happens with these documents is that they are converted into a PDF that it's basically rendered useless because you cannot cite it, and it's kind of lost within the data machine mining of the platform. So yeah, so we have here the underlying data. They have chosen to deposit the data in probably a repository that is specific for their topic. And then we have a list of these approved repositories, depending on the type of data that you want to deposit. Like, might not be the same thing if you want to deposit like genome sequences or code. Depending on the type of data, we can help you choose which repository is more appropriate. And then what I was mentioning about the new generation metrics, yes, you can find this at the top of each article. This is something that is captured at the article level and not at the journal level. Like, for example, the impact factor is a measure that reflects how well the journal is doing, but not specifically how well the articles are doing individually. So you have this information at the bottom, but also in a dedicated metrics tab. And if you open it, you get similar information, but more in detail, like how many views and downloads, from where in the world your article has been accessed. And then we also pull information from all metrics that will include presence in social media, like for example, Twitter, or if it has been saved in Mendeley, or if it has been a blog has been written about it. So might be important for you to have this information as well. And then in terms of the progress of the platform and how we have structured it, because as you can imagine, we have content from 6 different subject areas, which are quite big on their own. We have divided them in different sections. We call these community gateways, and they are dedicated hubs housing all content related to a specific subject area. Archaeology, in terms of how the European Commission classifies archaeology, it's part of humanities and the arts, and within humanities are the arts, it's part of history and archaeology. And that's why we have a community gateway that will contain all the articles related to history and archaeology. At the moment, we have 11 articles in this area compared to the 376 that we have in general. And obviously here you can see other community gateways of other areas. These community gateways, they are usually led by advisors. This one does not have an advisor at the moment, but these advisors will help us promote the community gateway, the platform more general. And as you might have discovered yourself, we, Open Research Europe, we are not known by a lot of researchers, so it really helps us to have, let's say, ambassadors within these communities to vouch for us. And in this case, they don't need to, the way we recruit these advisors is that obviously they need to be experts in the field and active scholars, but also we keep in mind that they are quite sensitive to open science principles, that they are comfortable with our way of publishing and a way of doing things. We have also collections. So the difference between the community gateways and the collections is the topic is more specific. So as you can see, we have two collections at the moment in the history and archaeology community gateway. These are one is called Safeguarding Cultural Heritage and Digital Humanities. And in this case, yes, we do have advisors. In this case, also these advisors, they need to have Horizon funding or cost action program funding. I mean, they need to be eligible to publish with us, because if they want to publish with us, that obviously will send a very strong message to their network that they really believe in our platform if they even if they submit their own work. So yeah, then I would like to explain that we have different article types. So the idea of the European Commission is that they really want to capture all of type of research outputs. That's why we are happy to publish not only positive results, but also negative and null results, because we believe that they have a value for the rest of the researchers. And that's one of the reasons why we don't have an impact factor. If you were to try to publish your negative results in a journal with an impact factor, most likely they're going to reject your article because it's not novel. There's evidence showing that articles that publish negative results receive less citations, and obviously this means that the impact factor of the journal will decrease. So it's bad for the business, but maybe it's good for research to actually be able to publish your negative results. So that's why the European Commission wants to be very inclusive in terms of the type of research that we publish. As long as it has been sound science, as long as it has been performed rigorously, we are very happy to publish this type of outputs as well. And that's why we have different article types. So we have the traditional ones like reviews, research articles, and brief reports, but we also want to allow, for example, a data note to be published where the researchers only have to give a brief description of what that data is, how it was collected, and they don't need to discuss the data. They don't need to draw any conclusions. But what this will do is that this data set now is going to get a DOI, is going to be published in a journal, is going to be indexed in all the indexers we are indexed in, and it has more chances for this data to be seen and ultimately used by other researchers. Similarly, we like study protocols, methods, and software tool articles. Obviously, these article types are tailored to the different disciplines. So although we also acknowledge that some disciplines, like maybe you are based in archaeology, but maybe you use some coding. So then you will be also eligible to publish a software tool article. But in principle, these are the different article types that we offer for the different subject areas, and this is the ones that in the humanities and the arts you will have available to you. And then just to explain how the platform is doing so far. So we are 2 years old. We have 376 published articles, and of those, 3/4, which is kind of like 74-75%, have completed peer review. So at least they have 2 of these review reports, and of those, 55 have passed peer review. That these review reports were approved. And this is more or less the same numbers we have been having in the last 6 months, like 75 of our content has completed peer review and 55% of all our content has passed peer review. Obviously, this includes articles that were published yesterday, so they didn't even have time for the review process to start. This is the indexers we are currently in, and in terms of article types, more than half of our article types fall within the research articles category, but we have examples of the others. The second one will be method articles, but we also have data notes, software tool articles. So basically, it's telling us that the researchers are liking this idea, and it's true that not other journals will offer this alternative article type. So we are happy to see that they are engaging with our proposal in that front. And in terms of subject areas, what content do we have? So we are quite popular in social sciences and engineering and technology, and humanities and the arts represents 6% of our content. Obviously, here you have to keep in mind that humanities and the arts, I would say, is not as heavily funded as probably engineering and technology. So if you were to compare our content to the grant funding given by the EC, it more or less follows the same pattern. We're a bit low, for example, in medical and health sciences, but probably because we were not indexing PubMed till 2 months ago. But we aim for this to be kind of like almost a good representation of the funding, at least to aim for that. So here are some of the benefits. I think I've mentioned all of them. Obviously, if you publish with us, you will fulfill all the European Commission's open access and open data sharing requirements. I mean, they set up this platform, so we follow their guidelines as well. And just because I think this is something that Lydia mentioned in one of her emails that, and this is relevant anyway, the fact that we don't have an impact factor, and how will that align with what will be the motivations for researchers to publish with us, because ultimately researchers need to keep getting funding, need to keep getting promoted, and realistically, the number of publication in high impact factor journals is a measure that is used to assess their quality or their scientific activity. So for this, as I was saying, the European Commission has a bigger picture in how European Commission and how ORE fits into it, is that they are leading together with other organizations like the European University Association, Science Europe, and 20 more into creating this coalition for advancing research assessment. Is based on 10 commitments, and they want to establish a common direction for research assessment reform while respecting each organization's autonomy. It opened for signatories in September of last year, and of the 26th of April, they are 531 signatories. Spain is really leading the way in that respect in terms of signatories. We have 54 from Spain, and I've included the ones that I believe will be more relevant for this audience, like ANECA, which is the one that signed last. So we have ANECA, el CSIC, CERCA, la Universitat Rovira i Virgili, Universidad Autónoma de Barcelona, Universidad de Barcelona, and more. It's 54 within Spain. And the idea of creating this coalition is to change research assessment. So here I've put some of their commitments. It's 10 of them. One of them, for example, is the thing that is more relevant for this is to abandon inappropriate uses in research assessment of journal and publication-based metrics, such as the impact factor and the age index. Then another one is to base research assessment primarily on qualitative evaluation, for which peer review is central, supported by responsible use of quantitative indicators. So that's why the publishing platform of the European Commission, or IE, doesn't have an impact factor, and we use Alticore level metrics. And that's why our peer review is open and transparent, because it should be really the way to address the quality of the work. Then another commitment is to recognize the diversity of contributions in careers and in research. So we offer a wide range of article types, and we are happy to publish positive, negative, and null results. And then it's true that there are other initiatives that they are active, and some of them, I don't know if you know about Dora, it's like 10 years old. So why is this different? Why are they trying to achieve something different? So the difference between Dora and Koara, which is the name, is with this one there is a time frame. So obviously the institutions that when they sign this document, is not legally binding, but they have shared publicly their commitment to reform research assessment in their institutions. So their signatories, they have to share their action plan by the end of 2023 or within 1 year of signing. And yeah, obviously this is something that it might take a while, because it's not just putting up some guidelines, but it's also a change in culture. It's a change in how we have mentored the students, and how we have been mentored when we did our PhDs and when we were part of academia. But the European Commission and other institutions have realized that the way research is assessed is not the right way. So this is what they are proposing. So I think I will stop.